samastaloka sukhino bhavantu samastaloka sukhino bhavantu samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Sri Sairam.
Saram, Saram.
I bow down to the light body in all of you. Today's topic is integrated consciousness. This topic was given to me, I think, 15 minutes ago. And I asked Swami, I don't know anything about integrated consciousness. See, go, you speak. So I'm waiting now. Om Sara. Integrated consciousness. We have been going through our lives without totally integrating the consciousness. It's like in portions. It's not connected. It seems to be connected outwardly, but is somewhat not so connected inwardly. In order to have a vision of how we should be connected inwardly, at least a map. If we have a map, it's easier to envision and to have an idea where we are going. If you do not have a map in your mind, it's like without GPS. You have to go on the road by trial and error. Someone is telling you this direction, it could be a long way around, we won't know. If you have a GPS, you're able to see from the top. Yeah, you can zoom in, zoom out, and see which is the shortest way. So it's good to have a map. What is the map? Where is your destination? You should have a destination, right? And Swami, being all graceful, all loving, compassionate Lord, came down on earth and told us our destination. He personally told us. Yeah, so in other words, he initiated this journey. Yeah, we are very fortunate to have the avatar to initiate our journey. So what Swami says, where is your destination? Swami always say, I know I'm God, you don't know you are God. You are also God. You are one with God. You are love. Love is God. You are light. So with this information, this is our destination. So in our mind, we have destination. Okay. God realization. God realization is our destination, correct? So now, that's very good. You have your GPS set, you have your goal already broadcasting, beaming. Now where are we? We are in a journey, right? We have to go. We have to go. It will look like there's some external movement, but your external movement, there's some reflection going on. It's also an internal movement. External movement and internal movement somehow correlates. There's some kind of reflection going on. So we are going towards God consciousness or God realization. And then externally we start also doing something. We start going to the centers every week. We start going to holy places. We start going to India. India is a powerhouse of God consciousness. The entire land is filled, resonating in God consciousness. The search for God is in India. Everyone naturally, consciously or subconsciously, is driven to God realization. Okay. So we need to integrate our consciousness, integrate our current conscious to conscience. Conscience means you are opening your current location. Okay, God consciousness is your destination. Your current location is your conscience. So with the current location beaming, we start. If your GPS is good, if you follow the GPS properly, you start integrating. Oh, this is here. This is my point of life where I'm learning this. And now I have come out of this now. I am going to a larger practice of unconditional love. Earlier it was limited. The love is limited to certain conditions, right? And after the condition is not met, you don't love. So now you start integrating next level. Next level where there is more larger scope, larger range. Okay? You start integrating and you become loving more and more loving. Your heart expands. And when your heart expands, definitely your GPS is resonating to the God consciousness. Both is calling onto each other. The more your heart expands, the more closer you get to God, because God is love. So you're closer to get to God, the more love you feel. So you know that you are near God when you're very loving. Congratulations. When you feel it in your heart, you feel so much love coming out of you, you are very near God. If you feel so much love in your heart until sometimes you just cry for no reason, and you think of Swami, you just cry, think of God, you cry, it's just a veil away, just one small veil away. He is just right there in front of you. You know, I've last time interviewed, when we leave, I would just tell Swami, I love you. Swami says, you can love me because I loved you. Without the God resonating love, we don't know what is love. We are able to love because of Him, because He is loving, He is love, He is resonating love. And because we came from Him, we are also love. Maybe He's the cosmic love. We are the local area house love. We need to expand, right? Expand to the area, expand to the country, expand to the planet. Samasta loka sukino bhavantu, expand to the cosmos. Otherwise, Swami won't ask us to chant Samasta loka if we are not supposed to expand to the cosmos. Why would He want to tell you there's so many worlds that you have to pray for? Why does He want to involve you to all this, so many worlds outside? He is telling, chant, pray, samasta loka sukino bhavantu, and He encourages and He enjoys. And when you see, when you chant samasta loka in Prashanti, He is in bliss. He enjoys so much, and every time He will go, blessing, blessing, blessing. So we need to integrate to Him, yeah, integrate to our love, our GPS, integrate to the destination, God realization. Okay, some of you might think this God realization later can go lah. Why in the hurry? We need to push. There's still time. Well, let me tell you, once you reach God consciousness, then only start. Then your story starts. Your life starts. So why not we do it right now? All of us, God consciousness, be one. Be one with God consciousness. Then it becomes integrated. Integrated to that one consciousness. Consciousness has always been one. It's integrated. All this, our entire unconscious, subconscious, conscious, consciousness, cosmic consciousness, all become one. This is integrated. Yeah? So there's no more separation, there's no more journey. You are the one. And this is just started. Okay, this is day one. you get to enjoy it, really. If you are in God consciousness, you will see so much more, you will understand so much more, you know, your productivity is so much higher. You are less caught by your emotions, less caught by your mind, the play of the collective mind, the conditioned society, the conditioned family, the dramas of the family, of the society is no longer influencing you. Otherwise, just dealing with this is alone enough for lifetimes to solve. Yeah. So integrate, integrate, integrate. Okay. Now, today we have a few things to cover. Sister Sandhya, I see your mic was open just now. Did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry, I'm not.
What did you say? Okay. All right. I've been told to share. Okay. Yesterday, a few things happened. Okay. One is that excess consciousness. Excess consciousness is so amazing, so powerful. Initially, I'm sure a lot of you were confused. You don't know what's happening. Even me, I don't know what was happening. But when he started picking up the issues and start talking, right, I realized that I can see the energy is rising. That's all I can see. I cannot really fully comprehend what he was saying. And I realized that I don't need to comprehend what he was saying, because after a while, what he says is almost sounds gibberish. He's just talking something. And I realized that this is how the Actorians do operations. They use words, yeah, deprogramming words, words which, you see, why do we have a situation is when our energies are stuck. How did our energies get stuck? Because of certain programming, yeah, some kind of misprogramming. It could have been done by external forces, or it could be done by you. It could be done by our karma. So there is some misprogramming happening, and the energies is stuck. Okay. So what is Dr. Tomislav? He took that, and he is that consciousness, your consciousness. He spoke on behalf of you. Your issue, he spoke on behalf of you. This is this unconscious, where it came from, and there's no need to judge, and no need to judge. You can rise up, and then you can set yourself free. And this is a freedom is your right, and you came to enjoy this freedom, and your pure consciousness. He directs your unconscious stuck energy in some neural pathways, in some major GPS, and he brought it to God consciousness. How is that? This is advanced technology. And he does it continuously with 7 countries. This one you need punyam and God's grace only can happen. Otherwise cannot. This kind of skill only God can sanction. Because you are changing everything. You are changing the program of a person. You are elevating him, bypass. Your karma no need to go through. He just bring you by the hand, and as oneness, this is the true oneness. He became one with you, and he spoke on your behalf with light. Yeah, so he brought it all the way up. It was so beautiful. So it was very tremendous. We have to thank Sister Vladka for bringing him on board. This is also God's grace that this can happen, yeah, for all of us. Okay, then towards the evening, all right. Towards the evening, as usual, there was some major planetary energetic works which happened. This was, I mean, it's been happening for the last 3 days, but somehow yesterday, the people in the crew in Psi Cosmic Craft, they saw it. This is totally because Swami's light is in that craft. So it got illuminated and all who was in the craft saw it. Yeah. It looks a bit chaotic, but it's not that. It is also integrated consciousness, also same. I saw the unconscious. I saw the mass unconscious, which has been there for so long, finally came up to the surface. This is very significant because it's got to do with the Satyasai Rudra, Global Akanda Rudra Parayana stage 6, because today is the final day. So I have told before that there will be massive cleaning. There's a lot of suppressed energies which will be released from the earth, which is a very good thing, because usually it's very difficult to clear the unconscious suppressed energy for, which goes down to thousands of years. Yeah, this is usually very difficult to clear unless there is big movements like planetary movement, ascension energy movement, the gamma waves movement, solar flash happening, God is in the picture, and the devas are there, and the galactic federations are there, and these are all huge movement. Only when all these guys or everyone is there, that this transition can happen. This is a very huge transition. So the earth, a lot of suppressed energies was released. In the process of release, some feel it. Actually, many feel it. I know many people who feels it. Some see it. I think our cosmic craft crew members, 50% of them saw it. So, and then of course, this with tremendous God's grace, this energies was elevated and lifted off to another plane and into a new world for them. This is so beautiful. I never knew that this is possible, because God actually summoned an entire world for them to cross over with consciousness. That means they go into that world now to live with awareness. Before, it was living without awareness. The awareness is there, but not so much. Yeah, it's very little awareness. The light is very dim. But this is with awareness. The light is almost like each one has an angel like that. That kind of impact is there. So it's very beautiful. So a lot of them are loaded into another planet, and this entire planet was good. Yeah, so this was a big transition. So very beautiful. We are very fortunate to be able to witness this. I'm sure this will be written in books in the future. Don't know. It's all up to Swami. How he unfolds is all his story anyway. Yeah. We are all just instruments. Okay. Now, Brother Saha, are you here? Cosmic
Sara,
Commando.
bro. Yes, I'm here.
Sara. Good to
Sara to all.
All right, I'll pass this session to you. Let's go and let's share what we have been guided
Yes.
to. Om Sara.
Yes, let's share. Let's share. Let's grow together. So, yeah, it was a wonderful session yesterday, and it gave a whole new perspective on what we need to do and to once again remove so much of the conditioning that we have put on ourselves. And from those conditionings, we are co-creating the mess that we see. And it's I've heard many times people say, well, I hope one day the world will become like this. I hope one day we all do. But hoping is nice, but it does not uh, you know make you exempt from your personal responsibility of making it a reality. So many a times people say, I hope the world will find peace one day. Well, the thing is, the world is not separate from us. It is us. So I believe in yesterday's beautiful session, we understood from a very nice perspective how we are the ones who create our own realities, and we are the ones who could undo those realities and move on to a new reality, and it's instantaneous. So that was a wonderful lesson, and so I thought I will take the time to expand on this, um, and in terms of full integration. And this is a two-part thing. It's first is acceptance, because without acceptance we cannot have surrender. They go hand in hand. We need to have full acceptance in order to be fully surrendered. So, and we also have to understand, what does surrender mean? Now, this is a trick one for many people, even the ones who say, yes, yeah, it's all God, and but well, I need this or I need that. So what really is meant by surrender? Because without understanding what surrender is, it's quite difficult to realize that. So before I expand on this, I would appreciate if any one of you can share what surrender means to you at this point in time, because this will help the group to understand various viewpoints on surrender. Would anybody like to expand on how they see or how they view or perceive surrender at this moment? What does it mean to you?
Sorry, brother.
Hi, Sara.
Good to hear you. Surrender, to me,
Yeah.
I think many weeks ago I would have said it's all about offering my every thought, word, deed, everything to God. And I think my experience of that is that I offer it to him. I go to his chair because I need that physical indicator, that physical thing, visual, the visual aspect, just to surrender the issue or the problem. But what I found always is that although I've surrendered it, I pick it up and I go away with it again. So I haven't really surrendered it because I still think that I'm the doer. So what I've evolved to now is, rather than trying to offload and offer everything to Swami, to God, I try to just accept what is. And by accepting what is, there is a sense of surrender in that, because I'm no longer burdened with trying to fight it, trying to change the situation, trying to change what has happened. So by accepting that, that's what I now feel, acceptance. And I think the journey that we've experienced over the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks has been really testing for me, actually, because it's going beyond the mind, it's going beyond the rational, linear, logical thinking mind, and it's forcing me to open up the heart space and to try to operate more from within. So that's really been an incredible journey for me. I'm not sure I'm fully there yet, but certainly those baby steps have been taken. So, really lots of gratitude to you and the whole team on that, Sara.
Sara, I love what came through you. Yes. And let me remind all of you here, every single one of us, the ones who speak and the ones who ask questions and the ones who answer, we are all work in progress. And at this time, you do not have to say sorry for the inconvenience. You're not sorry for the inconvenience, because this inconvenience is needed for yourself and everyone around you. So you're a work in progress and you're not apologizing for the inconvenience. So always remember that. What does that mean? That means that you're going to live out your true self. You cannot be bothered what your friends and family and coworkers and uncles and aunts and religious friends and spiritual friends say about you. Okay? So that sign you see, work in progress, sorry for the inconvenience, is only seen at malls and public places. When it comes to our work, we are not apologizing for the inconvenience, because that inconvenience is nothing but a mirror to show you others what's inside them. And we are all doing a favor to each one of us by being mirrors to one another and fixing ourselves. But you can also borrow another line, which you see at malls and other places, say, we are work in progress to create a better experience for you. Well, that you can use. Yeah, you're going to create a better experience for yourself and for everyone else, but you are not going to be apologizing for the inconvenience. This is so important on this path, because those who are not in the same level of awareness will try to talk you out of it. And your mind loves that. It's like, yes, see, I told you, your best friend thinks the same. You're on the wrong track. So it's very important to stand your ground as you go through. So, yeah, so as you said, acceptance is the first part. So what exactly are we surrendering to? Who are we surrendering to? That's the question we need to ask. So before I give you a perspective on that, does anybody else want to share what surrender means to them at this point in time, or have their definition changed over time? That's also wonderful if we have two different perspectives on what surrender is.
Sairam,
Sairam.
surrender for me is at the moment, as everybody else, I'm work in progress as well. But
Yes.
what I started is, when I'm doing any activity, whether it's cooking, even dishwashing, I just say, I'm surrendering. I am offering this activity to God, and for me, it's Satya Sai Baba. So I say I'm surrendering to Satya Sai Baba, which is my higher consciousness, and also surrendering the result of any activity, especially when we don't get the result the way we expect it.
Beautiful, beautiful. What was your name again? I didn't catch your name.
Sushma.
Sushma. Thank you, Sushma. Wonderful, wonderful. We are heading towards what I want to expand on. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Anybody else want to share what surrender means to them? There's no right or wrong answer here because our definition of surrender expands as we move higher.
Good morning, Brother Saha, or rather, it's morning here and evening there probably. This is Sandhya.
Hi,
Sairam.
Sandhya. Sara.
Yeah. So I think, like Brother Vikash, the definition of surrender has changed along the way over the years. At this point in time, it just means I do and I surrender to the higher consciousness, which takes me where I need to go. So I do not ask what I need to do. I know it is the best in the scenario that that is picking out for me, and I just go with the flow. And there's no thought whether I'm going to. I don't even think I'm offering to you. This is how I feel at this time. I just do. And in order to do that, I think we should constantly watch out for the monkey mind to tell us, that keeps butting in between. So we need to figure out who is telling us. So if it's the higher consciousness or God consciousness or Swami for most of us, that's telling, I can decipher the voice and the tone and the way it tells us. But in daily, day-to-day activities, I know we are on autopilot mode. I'm on autopilot too most of the times. But even during that, I try to either focus totally on the job. That is my way of surrendering. Just focus on what I'm doing at that moment, and focus on the task. And when the task gets done, try to get back my mind on thinking about Swami. That is, I think that's where I am at this point. I know, like everyone else, it's a journey and it's a path we are all taking, and it will go on.
Yes. Thank you. Is everybody else? Yes, Sara.
Doer here. Like what Sister Sandhya said, you focus on the job, but then from what I feel is you focus on the job and everything as if you're doing it for Swami, but the result, you leave it. You don't worry about the result. You surrender the result to Swami. Be it whatever it wants to be, whatever is the result, let it be as it is. So maybe we look at it from a third point of view.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful. I love what you all are sharing. And anybody else want to share anything else before I share another perspective on this?
Sairam, my name is Sudha. I just wanted to say that when things go bad or wrong, and then I've tried so hard to fix it, and then there's a lot of resistance and nothing works, and then I finally say, oh, must be Swami's will, that's why it's happening. Nothing happens without his knowing. I don't know if that is surrender, but at happy times I'm not thinking, but when things go wrong, it's always a fight to fix things, and when it doesn't work, say, oh yeah, it's his will, and then that gives me solace. So I'm not sure if that's a type of surrender or.
It is a type of surrender. It's a great way to surrender and see everything is his gift. And yes, it's a very powerful tool to use, that awareness that everything is his gift. Nothing happens without his knowledge. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi all.
Hi.
I don't know anything now about surrender. I was thinking I can surrender or something like that.
Okay.
But all that was in my theory. Practical, it's like I don't know. Still, I want to surrender. I don't know what is that.
Okay. Okay. Yes, a lot of the times we we see surrender in theory, and it's difficult to practice. And that's a very good point that you brought across, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about in a bit, is the perspectives we hold, and why, how to move that from theory into full-time awareness. So when we look at it, the problem with the word surrender is that the dictionary definition of that implies that it is someone or something more powerful and bigger or greater than yourself, and you are basically giving up your rights and you're giving up your will, and you are somebody who's less powerful or helpless, who's giving up their rights, so to speak. That's the kind of definition people most of the time have in the word of surrender. And we tend to apply that into God as well. So then for most people, it is the God in the picture or in the altar or in their place of worship or whatever that is, a form that you surrender to. And for Sai devotees, it could be Satya Sai Baba. For Christians, it could be Christ. For Catholics, Virgin Mary. For Buddhists, Buddha. And the list goes on and on. And they're all valid. But when we look at surrender, and we talked about you cannot have, without acceptance, you cannot have surrender. Now, one way of seeing the acceptance is one of the sisters explained that everything that happens is happening with God's will. Yes, that's one great way of seeing acceptance and practicing acceptance. But today I want to talk to you of something slightly different, to give you another perspective on this. What you are actually accepting is more than the situation. If we take it up a level, what you are actually accepting is that you are God. When you accept that you are God, who are you surrendering to? If we all start, we accept the fact that we are God, right? Now, most of the time, even with Satya Sai Baba's teachings of I'm God and so are you, that second part seems to be quite difficult for many to understand and say, oh, Swami, I'm not, you're up there, and I don't know what I have done to deserve this, and I'm such a terrible person, and all this nonsense coming. But if we just for a moment fully accept that we are God, who are we surrendering to? And what are we surrendering to? So I want you to think about that a little bit. If you are God, and which you are, who are you surrendering to, and what are you surrendering? Okay, now on the extension of that same thought, let's see what we are surrendering and who is surrendering to who. Okay, so when you remember, okay, that you're not surrendering to a person, you're not surrendering to the God or any form of God that you have in your altar, the picture. That's just a reminder to you. But you're not surrendering to a person, okay? You're only surrendering to the realization that you and God are one. You're surrendering to the realization that you and God are one. So once again, when you and God are one, who is surrendering what and who is surrendering to who? So now to give this a slightly easier example to understand, I hope you're all following me so far. Does anybody have any questions on that before I go to the next part of this? It's another couple of minutes, but everybody clear on this, where we are in this acceptance and surrender?
Sairam.
Sara?
This is Sudharam from Singapore. Yeah, I'm sort of stuck at this place where you're saying if we and God are one and the same, we are exactly same as God. Like how God wouldn't even be bothering or even thinking about this phrase surrender. Would we also be, not think about this phrase. This word surrender wouldn't even come under our radar, isn't it so?
Mhm. Yes.
So
Yes.
if we the very fact that the phrase surrender, surrender, surrender keeps shouting within us, that negates our possibility of having attained that godhood. Because
Yes.
if we had attained godhood, this phrase is out of the dictionary, I feel. I mean, from my experience of trying to practice surrender and fail, I feel uh, God and surrender are two different things. In God's vocabulary, there is nothing called surrender.
Well, in the sense, it's in human vocabulary, yes. And it only exists because we see the separation between us and God. When we are God, who are we surrendering to, right? Does that word even have to exist? But as we become God, because we all work in progress, we need to understand a better definition of the word surrender because it's part of our vocabulary and we see this. It's in the scriptures, it's in all the books, it's in all religious and any kind of text is there in different meanings. Such as Sai Baba uses the same term for us to teach us surrender. So here's the easier way to understand and to have a new definition in this context what surrender means, because we cannot take the definition of in the worldly sense and bring it on to higher levels of spirituality. So I want you to imagine two letter I's. One is a simple I and one is a capital I. The small I and the big I. The small I is your mind space. That's your ego space. It's a small I. The big I, the capital I, is your heart space. So all what you're doing is you're surrendering the little I in you to the big I in you. It's not external. It's an internal shift from the mind space to the heart space. Journey within. It's an inside job. It's an inside job. So all you're doing is you're surrendering your little I that thinks it knows everything into the big I, which is everything. So there's a big difference. The little I thinks it knows everything, but the big I is everything. So all we are doing is drag and drop that little I into the big I. So that little I completely disappears in the totality of that big I. So that's what we do when we go from mind space to our heart space. We are only surrendering our ego self to our God self. And the vastness and the power of the love of that God self dissolves the little I. Of course, the little I doesn't like it. He wants to say to everyone that it knows everything. He's got answers to everything. But we really know that the big I is everything. So this is what happens when we surrender. So when we go from the little I to the big I, we are accepting the fact that we are God. And the same God that's in all our pictures and on top of our, cupboards and office spaces, inside the car, inside the wallet, is actually inside the heart all the time. And each time we see one of those pictures, you get to say, oh yeah, it's a reminder to tell me that I am God. You look at Satya Sai Baba and say, oh yes, I'm Baba. You look at Christ and say, yes, I'm Christ. You look at Krishna and say, yes, I'm Krishna. You look at Buddha and say, yes, I am Buddha. So this is where we need to go. Now, this requires something else to do. Now, when we see the little I and the big I, it's only for this definition, okay? Now, I know many times we've been taught, kill the ego, crush the ego, trample the ego, lock the ego, all kinds of things about the ego. But during this time of ascension, okay, we have to change our perspectives on ego too. So ego, there is one thing that ego cannot overpower. There's one thing that ego cannot overpower. Everything else it can. But there is one thing that it just cannot. Anybody want to say what that is?
Love,
What's that
love.
one thing? Love. There you go. Who said that?
Oh, me.
Me. Okay. Me said that. Good. Yes, that's it. Ego cannot overpower love. So when we know that, what do you think our ego needs in order to let go of its control on us? What do you think the ego will respond to and yearn for and has been waiting for all this time? What would that be?
Acceptance.
Sorry?
Acceptance.
Yes, acceptance is one part. So we discussed that the one thing that the ego cannot overpower is love. So if that's the one thing that the ego cannot overpower, what is the one thing it will listen to or respond to?
That one thing only.
What is that one thing?
Unconditional love.
Love, yes. Love,
Unconditional.
unconditional love. So I want you all to think about it from whatever you have read, wherever you have read in the past. That applied to a time when the veil was too thick for us to penetrate. But now as we ascend, when things get lighter and we take a little bit of effort and we can go further, our relationship with the ego also has to change. So that's extremely important to seeing oneness. Your ego, your shadow self needs the same love, and it yearns for the same love. And that's the only way the ego will decide to cooperate with you in this journey. If we see
Yeah.
ego as duality, okay, if we see it as the hindrance and it's been the cause of all our problems, yes, it did play that role. But now the ego also has to ascend. It's also consciousness. So we need to really shift our focus into say, okay, ego, I know you played this role because that's what you were designed for. You did a fantastic job in showing me the contrast, the polarities, the extremes. You know, that's what we hear in this planet, to master emotions. And without ego, we cannot do that. So we got to see our ego with gratitude for all what it has done to show us the contrast, to help us ascend. So we had to see for the role it has played and to love the ego with all our heart. This is the only thing that the ego cannot overpower. It cannot fight love. So the shadow side of ourselves, we have to love it. And it's the love from our hearts that will set the ego free and reduces it over time to zero. So this is part of the inner work, because think about it. If you cannot love your ego self, your shadow self, right? The darker side, if you want to call it that way. If you cannot fully love and embrace the ego for its role and what it has done so far, we cannot fully integrate within us. And if we cannot fully integrate our own ego, accept and love it, how can we see that in others or in society or in the situations we see around the world that we have co-created? So from now on, send love to your ego. And only with
I
that,
think that's the
you'll-
sorry.
Yeah, only
I
with
think
that
that's
you'll be able to move forward on this journey. If not, the ego will continue to show you a side because you're seeing ego as something bad. So we have to take away that definition now and love ego, because that's the only way that it will start cooperating and understanding, yes, finally my master has understood that love is the answer, so now I can take a back seat and be in that love. The ego also wants love. So yes, with that, I'll open up to questions. You were saying something, sister.
yes, I was saying that I think that's the first step towards kindness. That's being kind to oneself, because ego was necessary too to do our day-to-day jobs. It is kind of necessary. It is just important not to let it overrun us. And yes, kindness to self is being kind and saying, ego, I know you're there. You're trying to raise your head, but that is not what we need to do now. There is somebody else that is guiding us. So I think being kind to self is the first form of kindness we need to practice, and that includes loving the ego.
Yes, 100%. You took this conversation to exactly where I want to go next. You said kindness. This is the fertile soil that anything grows on. So kindness is key. So this is so important that we extend that kindness to ourselves, because only when we have that, we can forgive ourselves. Without kindness, you cannot forgive. And only when you can forgive yourself, you can love yourself fully. So it's a very simple path. First thing is you got to be kind to yourself. When you're kind to yourself, you're able to forgive yourself. And when you're able to forgive yourself, you can love yourself. So it's a very important aspect of integration here, because without that being fully, set on its role right now as you need it in your path, it's very difficult to go into other aspects of you in higher realms. So this is where we got to be very conscious of and that inner love. We did a talk some time back called Self-Love for Ascension, because it's an inside job. It begins with you. So many people are out there trying to fix other people. And fixing other people always comes with an agenda, no matter what you call it, no matter how you want to define it. Oh my God, it's my mom, I love her so much, or it's my wife and I love her to pieces. Now it always comes with an agenda. We want to fix other people in the disguise of love because we have a certain expectation of them. And we mask it. Oh, I love you so much, therefore I want you to change this way. Well, some part of it's slightly true, but it always has an agenda, because we prefer them to be that way because we are comfortable with that. So instead of trying to, fix other people, we got to start fixing ourselves. And that comes from fully accepting everything, every experience that has made us till now. And if you have a difficulty with that acceptance of who you are right now and you're blaming someone out there, well, then change your definition of acceptance instead of the events that you experience into the fact that you're a God. So you have two options. You could accept all the things that happens to you is coming from God, if you like that, or you could accept the fact that you are God. So if you're God, you created this experience. So we have two choices. Either way, we arrive at the same place.
An interesting
Saira.
thing. Can I say something?
Sure, please.
Yeah, circling back to what the sister from Singapore said, I know it's very confusing at this time. On the one hand, we are trying to say, I'm God, and then I'm saying I'm surrendering. There's still the dichotomy. And
Mhm.
I can understand that, but I think that's partly because we are on the journey. We are not yet there. When we
Yes.
truly become God, there is no experience. So there is no separation. And there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
Yes. Yes. So that's why it's a very, very important point. We're all work in progress. We are all going towards that big I, and we're getting closer to that big I. And that big I, the little I dissolves. And when we understand that the little I thinks it knows everything, but the big I is everything. So in that everything, there is nothing. In that nothingness, there's everything. So we have two choices to go in there. So it's difficult for you to accept everything that's happening to you is, not your doing. Well, as one sister replied here, take responsibility. It is you. But if that doesn't work for you, you could simply switch gears and say, well, I am God. Fake it till you make it. It works. It works.
Saira, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I love the analogy of the little I being the mind space, which dissolves in the heart space.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi's teaching of abiding in the self. Now, he talks about watching the little I. Is it same as loving the little I when you watch it? And the other question I had was, wouldn't the ego get more big-headed when it gets more love and gain more importance?
No, absolutely not. The ego is also everything in this universe, whether it's a flower, a plant, a tree, an animal, insect, every single one of us, we are sustained by love. That's our true nature. We can't separate ego and say you don't deserve love because you're the troublemaker. That's like punishing that one kid in class for shouting and breaking the peace. But if you just embrace it and say, hey, you know what? You're making the class very interesting and thank you for breaking the monotony of the teacher. But guess what? We're going to help you to get to the next grade. You can't keep on, punishing the ego. Is also there for a reason. And now we've come to this realization. Before, the ego was so dominant. So we had to kind of treat it with I would say, with much more in some kind of rigid ways. But now we're getting closer to that oneness in everything we do. So we have to love. We have no choice. We have to take ego with us. That too has to transcend. So it's no longer about killing the ego or shutting it or stepping it. None of those. We're simply gonna embrace the ego with love. That's the only thing it cannot resist. So no, and also talking about watching the little eye. I haven't read these teachings, but from what you said, you asked if watching and loving is the same thing. I would say at this point in time, watch it with love. Watch it with love. You put on your love glasses and you look at your ego with love. I haven't read the book, but all I can say is that you're looking at your ego through the lenses of love. So when that happens, there is no chance for judging the ego. Once again, it is the ego to say, I'm going to fit into this box. There's no judgment of that. It's also an aspect of the mind. So love the ego, look at your ego with love. And send your ego love for showing you the contrast so you could go towards the oneness. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else has any questions on this or want to share their thoughts?
I think watching the ego is actually looking at it with kindness. I perceive it as a little child who is trying to be naughty. You're not going to be angry with the child all the time. So
Yeah.
you just keep a close watch, keep a close eye, and if it tries to act up, you talk to it kindly and say, I know you're there.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So, and also look at this avatar. This is very important. This Satyasai avatar is quite different because this avatar is not about, chopping heads off and spilling blood and destroying the evil. There was a time in the planet in our expansion that those were the realities at the time. But this avatar has one weapon, and it's a weapon of love. There's no killing or destroying or spilling of blood here. It's a different way. It's going to transform the evil through love. So that's a huge difference in this avatar. The Sai avatars are here to transform with the weapon of love, even the darkest of the dark. You know, it's the beautiful way. It's a transformation through love. So that's the same weapon we're going to use to get better in that journey as individual sparks of that same divinity. So we're going to use the sword of love with our ego.
I'm feeling like I am the biggest ego ever attending this class. And when you are saying that to love the ego, tears are flowing from my eyes. I don't know. Thank you.
Yes, yes. These days, I found a lot of in the sessions, people are very generous with their tears. And I get messages asking, oh my God, when I listened to the talk, I was crying. When I read that, I was crying. And I say, hey, it's happening to me too. You know, I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this, but crying has become easier. At least I would say, especially being a man, it's become a whole lot easier for me in the last 5 years. But now it's even involuntary crying. Tears just roll out. And that could be anything. It could be watching something simple as an animal video, like a cat and a dog hugging, and I will get tears. It could be a little girl or boy singing, and I'll get tears. I could be reading a response of a healing from one of the members in this group or somewhere else and what they experience, and I'll be crying. In the sense, I'll get tears, and it'll start rolling down my cheeks, and I don't fight it. It's a very, very important thing that you brought up. It's a very important part of loving. How many here, guys, don't be shy, own up, okay? I don't know whether your wives are there or not, but how many have found it that you find tears coming into your eyes more easily now? Or without even your control? Anybody want to share their experience with tears?
Okay, I'm not a guy. It's just it's like the first experience I had without in 1995 when I got the opportunity to go and see Satya Sai Baba, and without knowing who he was or the magnitude of what kind of person he was, just by looking at him, I started crying. So I think that is the journey that started my transformation. So I think just the name of Swami gives a lot of beautiful emotions, and sometimes, yeah, tears do roll down my cheeks too.
Yes, yes. That's an experience I guess many of us share. Um, but lately, if you are you experiencing that more often? You know, even if you're watching a side video, which you probably would have watched a few years ago, you're watching it now and you'll get tears. Or anything else, you find yourself having tears.
Yes, I too feel that seeing Swami and when listening to good music also, I get the tears. When it is touching the heart, the tears roll down automatically. Uh, I don't know, when it is touching the heart, how I am crying, I don't know. And when Swami cries also, I get the tears. And my mother cries also, I get the tears. It's not intentional, but it's like that.
Yeah, yeah. All I can say to you is that let those tears flow out freely. And why that's happening is because more and more the Divine Mother is waking up within us. It's a Shakti energy that's coming in. It's a divine feminine rising. It's all about love, compassion, gratitude, kindness, all the softer things, so the softer aspect of our being. So part of that is us releasing and embracing, and tears are very much a part of it. And for some, there are two types of tears. As we ascend, as we clean up, we will cry out of sadness, out of, say, releasing something that was stuck in our cellular level. And afterwards, it's almost immediately followed by the cool tears of acceptance and love and joy, and say, hey, everything is good now. Everything is gone. Everything is better now. So people may experience two kinds of tears back to back. One that comes out of a release of something that was struggling to get out of your system. And in that release, you'll find the cool tears of healing coming through, because you realize that you have just mastered a lesson. You have just honored completely that experience. You have integrated that into who you are. So this is beautiful. So if you get the tears, honor it. It's part of your healing. It's part of your healing. Don't be shy about it. Don't ask for the tissue or run to the bathroom to hide it. If it comes out, let it go. That's part of your true self.
You know, the last week there's been so much amazing grace, and that itself makes us so tearful. We have been so blessed the last week, the number of experiences that we have had, and the speed with which we are moving. I felt we are on a freeway now, and the moment you think of Swami's grace, yes, those are tears of joy or happiness that automatically start to form.
Yes. I can share with you an experience. I don't watch news. I don't put on CNN or whatever news network. I don't really care actually what's happening in the outside world right now. All I do is I'll just send love to whatever that's happening. I don't need to know what it is, but you just send love. When you say Samasaloka Sukino Bhavantu, whatever that's happening out there receives that love. But there was a wonderful thing that I was allergic to, and I want to share that here, about the beautiful power of the Shakti energy, the divine feminine that is rising. So some of you may have seen the news stories about the unrest in the US, and the killing of an innocent man, and the video going viral, and riots and looting and damage and anger and hatred, all the stuff going out of control. And I want to tell you all that this is part of our cleansing. This has to happen this way. We cannot stop it. It has to take its full course. It's like you cleaning a very dirty room. There are layers of dust. And you go up and you lift that rug and you drop it. What's going to happen? That dust is going to go all over the room and hit your face. And you're going to sneeze, you're going to cry, and you're going to run away. But you got to come back with a mask on and with proper tools to get that room cleaned up. So that's what's happening in our world right now. It's not the world is falling apart. It's just that our ideas of that world is falling apart. The world is not falling apart. Our old patterns of conditioning is falling apart. So we see a higher truth. So it appears that the world is going out of control. No, it's not. It's only showing us what we need to work on. So why I want to share this story with you is that it was very sad to see a human being who's not aware of their divinity is killing another brother. So it's very sad because they're both God. Always keep in mind they're both God. One is not aware that they're God. The other person may or may not have been too. But because when you're God, you will not do that because you know you're God. So in that lack of awareness, this happened. But it also happened as part of the divine plan, because it needs to happen this way. This soul, these two souls, they agreed to play this role. I want you all to remember that. These two souls agreed to play this role during this time to bring out the dust from underneath the rugs. Now, there's one thing being, how to say, tolerant to be politically correct, but that's not true acceptance. That's not true integration. That's just you want to sound right, so people will not think of you badly. But now it's forcing us to say, hey, drop that label of having tolerance, but go into true embracing. So in that path, we are going to see this. So what I saw was, yes, I never saw the video going viral, and I don't want to see it either, but something beautiful happened. So this has been happening for some time, and this struggle has been there from the US civil rights movement, and it took many different, how to say, ways of expressing itself, and it never got resolved. And it's a big issue, yes, and we all want to downplay it. It's not just in the US, it happens everywhere, everywhere in the world. You go to any country, it's not about black or white, but the locals of that country tend to see the foreigners as somebody not as equal as them. It's so funny. You go to any country, it exists in some subtle level or another. Either they have a funny word to refer to the non-locals, or they will have a funny word to refer to the people of different color skin than theirs. And it's everywhere. But the US has been the place to show it in this biggest contrast. So what did I see? That's the big question. So as people went out on the streets and starts causing chaos, because it's all the frustrations coming out, that's not the way to do it, but it has to happen that way. So usually what happens anywhere in the world is that you will send out the riot police. They will have the big shields and the big batons in their hands, and the guns and rubber bullets, and you name the whole thing, the water cannon. And they will beat you up. They will fire at you, and that's it. You will run away. And if you come back again, it'll be more forceful the next time, leading up to arrest and all kinds of things. So this too was happening in some parts until a group of policemen in Oregon, they decided that they're going to march out, meet the protesters one-on-one, stand there, kneel down, and ask for forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. They went there in their gear, all the uniforms. They stood in front of the protesters who were yelling and screaming and about to cause chaos. They all went down on their knees. They put their heads down, and they said they're sorry. They apologized for the how to say, inhumane act conducted by another police officer in Minneapolis, but they were in Oregon. They had nothing to do with that police officer, but still, they went in there and they asked for forgiveness. Now, usually what happens in a situation like that is police would come and the crowd would run away because you're beating them up. This time, after apologizing, as they were sitting there, kneeling down, people walked up to them, knelt in front of them, held their hands, and some of them even hugged each other. And they were all crying. And people were cheering the police, and the police went back to their police station, and the crowd did not cause any destruction. This is Shakti. This is the divine feminine. Would you ever imagine a man in a uniform, the divine masculine in full force, will come up to civilians, go on their knees, and ask for forgiveness? This is the change we are seeing through the chaos. And I wish this news gets more coverage than that man's death. It's all part of it. But this is the change we're seeing right now in the world. And guess what? After this happened in Oregon, it went viral. Police stations around the country, people, they would come out and do the same. There were policemen who took off their uniforms and came out in their jeans and t-shirts and walking with the people in solidarity. And they said, we are here not to control you, but to give support to your voice. And people were loving it. So from this extreme polarity, they found oneness in that one little gesture. And now it's happening all over. In every single police division is happening. People are coming out and police are coming out. And yes, so imagine instead of shooting and arresting people and beating them up, they said kneel down and ask for forgiveness. The power of love is in action. So this is wonderful. And of course, while I saw the first video, I got tears in my eyes because I could feel the love through that video. What's happening in the world? What's happening in the world? It requires us to see the situation and say, oh yeah, another black guy being killed by a white cop. No, get rid of that. It's two actors playing a role right now to show us what we need to fix. And they made a sacrifice in that, to be the victim and the villain, to show us a story that we need to deal with as we integrate as one humanity. So they did a great sacrifice to play that role, to get attention to that so we could heal. So the man who died and the cop and the other cop who supported, they all need equal measures of love from us. The same love and compassion, because they both played the roles that they had to do for the greater good of humanity. Yes, it appears bad, ugly, wrong, all those labels in the third dimension. But when you zoom out, these are two beautiful souls that played that role for the greater good of humanity. So we could clean up ourselves and learn from that and to find love in the message and how the communities are coming together right now. So this is the big picture of that. So we could practice the same thing now as the divine feminine energy is taking more and more space within us. We can also practice the same. If the cops can go out there and kneel down and ask for forgiveness with all the power and the firepower and law in their hands, well, we can do the same. It just needs our willingness to embrace that side of us and let that side take charge now, because Shakti is what's leading us to ascension. And in that journey, we are going to find harmony between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. But it's pouring in right now. So if we open ourselves to that divine feminine energy that's coming in right now, we could ascend much faster, because that is going straight to your heart. It's not coming through the filter of the mind. That's just going to pour right out of you. Anybody want to share anything or add to this or share your personal experiences?
You know, one thing, like you said, that helps keep perspective is if we understand that all the souls that are here with a plan that's already been made. They all
Exactly.
make plans with their own will. And so we
Yeah.
decide I may decide to be the bad cop, the other one can decide to be the good guy. And then we all have made this plan before. I think there's a beautiful book called, I think it's Soul's Journey, or I've forgotten what it is. And he describes how we make this plan. It's a pre-birth plan, and we already make it with our own free will. And when we do that, and when we realize we are here with a certain plan, it's that much more easier to be forgiving and understanding, instead of just taking the superficial picture of what you see at that moment.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, I was touched by it, that the cops taking a knee, that was so touching. That was
Yep.
really nice. You see both. You've started to see both goodness, and on top of it, I just needed a break, and I saw Michelle Obama's on the book tour of her becoming, and she kind of talks about it too. How she says there is still goodness in the world. Please don't fret that there is violence and bad people. Yeah. I see a lot of goodness, and that was such a nice documentary to watch.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. That's what we got to focus on, so, and who benefits by when you change our perspectives? We do, Because instead of having more hatred and projecting that onto everybody else, you watch a video and you start crying and you say, wow, I know it was sad, but through that we are healing. And you have more love for those two people who played that role, because both are gods. And I find this most of the time in my work in quantum healing hypnosis, where people, when they zoom out and they see why things are happening, and they understand that there are soul contracts, and there are a group of souls that we come together and we have all these plans, like vacation plans, and we forgot that while we are playing the roles here. But once they realize that they made the plans and everybody's here exactly where they are meant to be right now with the souls that they agreed to be, well, then it no longer becomes such a big problem. And you go, wow, that's pretty cool. Did we really plan that? Wow. And they're able to turn that confusion in anger into something magical, and say, wow, I can no longer see my mom that way. I thought she was the worst person on the planet, but now I see like what I did and why she's doing this now, because we agree that we are going to reverse the roles in this lifetime. So yeah, so this is what's happening. We all have planned this. We all have
Oh,
planned this.
oh my God. If we want to see like that, to make us realize what is God and what is oneness, some people are have gone to such an extent to even forget the God
Yes, yes,
and make
yes,
us learn. And that is, oh my God. Okay. In Indian mythology, there is like Rakshasas, demons, and gods. The demons were also there with the god previously, but because of something they came and became demons. But they are also the god. And they were earning more than us to be with the god.
yes. Exactly what is happening right now in the planet. Brother Julius may have shared. There are billions of beings right now, souls out there waiting for that love. And they all know that this is the chance. It's the best chance for them to go through a portal right now, and to go to that divine light. So yes, everybody yearns deep inside at the core. It's all God. So it's just yearning to go back to source. It's yearning to go back to source.
As a child, I used to not understand that part. How come demons we come from God and we be with the God and merge into God when they die? But
Yes.
okay, okay.
I would also like to share something from personal, if it's okay.
Sure, please.
Hello? Yeah, so this female energy, I really understood. It was, I don't know exactly the story, so I cannot give the exact information, but I understand what happened. So also the Sri Ravi Shankar, I think that most of you know him, and Art of Living. So there was in India one village where was only criminals, and they were making a lot of problems and killing a lot of policemen, and nobody could deal with them. So he went personally there, and everybody was scared how he is allowing himself to go between them. His life was in danger actually. And when he came there, somehow he was able to be closed in a room for 4 hours with them, with those criminals. And after that, all those guys went out crying, and somehow he released them. So in the end, they were asking him, what you did, how you, Guruji, how you managed to deal with such a criminals and such a violence, and they were killing everybody. And he said, I did nothing. I was just listening to them. So this was also for me amazing experience, how sometimes with listening, this female energy and being love, we can heal each other and understand. This was one thing I wanted to share. And as well, this crying, sometimes we also cry of love, from love. I cry I cry a lot from love. When somebody is sending me energy of love and acceptance, I always cry.
Yes.
Love is really moving. It's not that it's releasing me. I just cry because of love. I don't know why. So this I
Yes.
really have. And yesterday when these souls were releasing, I was really crying. And it was not crying like that I release something. It was just a happiness. I don't know. Love, maybe love. Yeah, maybe love from only from the love. Yeah, this I want to share. Thank
Yes.
you.
Very beautiful. I would like to take that example of Sri Ravi Shankar's experience that you said of going into these criminals. And yes, because love, there's no greater power than love, because love is all there is. So when you mirror that, when you actively radiate that, it has the power to heal your surroundings. Everyone who comes into your space can get healed. And when you're really advanced, they don't even have to come to your space. You can just send it from your heart and they receive it. So one of the things we learn is that the human emotion going from our hearts, we can co-create our outside world. So this is the beautiful part. Even the toughest criminals or any other world situations, we can dissolve through love. But since we are taught that aggression is the way to fight fire with fire, we are reluctant to use the cooling waters of love, though we know that water can put out a fire. But we think that fire can fight fire and somehow we can win the battle. So this is the beauty of that. And the more we could embrace that side of us, um, we are becoming beacons of light. And as you walk in, as you talk to people, what you say, it may be the simplest words, but is backed with pure love from your heart. And that's what causing the change. That's what causing the shift. Because that person too, at the core, is yearning for that same love that you're looking for, trying to find, but they don't know it exists within them. So when you radiate that from within you, there's a shift that takes place in their bodies, the way they think. And they say, oh my God, you just said the most wonderful thing. You just answered my question. And they'll start crying. Or even if they're not crying, they'll just say, wow, you know. So it's very palpable right now. And that's the power we got. That's the power we got. So people can watch news and choose to see the separation and say, oh my God, these evil cops and this guy should rot in hell and somebody should do the same thing to him. And well, that's one way, but that doesn't serve any purpose. You only give your power to that negativity. But if you sit there and say, wow, these two divine beings are showing us something that we need to heal within us. Don't think because you're yellow skin or brown skin or pink skin that you're not racist. No, racism is existing in every skin color. It's not something that's portrayed in the media, that black or white skin. No, no, it's not. The yellow guys hate the pink guys hate the black guys hate the yellow ones. Oh, it's everywhere. You go to any country, you see this. So so what is showing us through this extreme example is that, hey, this is within you as well. Start healing it. Start healing it now. So, yeah, once we fully understand that we are all humans, there won't be something called immigrants or foreigners in a country. Who are the foreigners? Who are the immigrants? So we're going to come to that. And with that, we understand that who are we to call anybody else aliens and extraterrestrials, because we also came from there. But for that reality to sink into many people, they had to first understand that there are no foreigners and immigrants in this planet. They're only human beings. So once we graduate from that, and let go of the ideas of protecting one's religion and one's culture and one's way of living, and the others can't come in here and they're not entitled to come in here. This is not their place because we've been here for 1,000 years or 2,000 years. Well, the planet is a couple of billion years old. So your claim for the last 5,000 years is a joke. There's been other beings who could kick us out then because they were here way before us. So this is where we are heading as we drop our labels. Whatever the issues we have with our human brothers right now is the issues we are having with our cosmic brothers. It's the same thing. So once we heal those here and we ascend, they are willing to embrace us in a higher place of love and share the gifts that they want to give to us, because we need to consciously evolve in order to receive some of those gifts. That's in free energy, new crops, better ways of growing food, better education, better healthcare. So much that they are waiting to give us. But until we understand that we are all human and we are one race, we are not consciously ready for those gifts. We can't handle them because that requires a shift in our beingness for them to work, in order for them to operate. So that's why the sooner we ascend, the sooner we will create harmony, not just in this planet, but in the entire universe. So we have a huge responsibility here right now on planet Earth. As much as we clean up, understand each time you clean yourself up, you are actually healing the entire universe. There's so many beings waiting to learn from these lessons here that's happening on Earth right now. So it's if you can think, oh yeah, I'm just somebody little and I have this issue to work on. But as you heal that, you're sending those healing waves throughout the universe. So this is the power we got. This is who we really are. Anyone want to share anything or got a question?
So a little bit about this be complete, like how to integrate the dark side of yourself. So I know I had personal experience and I faced with the dark side in myself. You just need to see it and accept it. Otherwise you cannot be complete. Even in Matrix, it is shown in the end of the movie, if you remember who was watching the movie before. In the first steps, you are fighting against the dark side, and then in the end, you are not fighting anymore. Yeah, if you can give
Yes.
a little bit more of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We no longer need to fight it. No, no. Yes, somebody was saying something.
Yes, I too see that from the movies, animation movie Moana. I don't know anyone has saw that. There is this earth which became very aggressive, firing like that because of something, and one big guy who was very strengthy want to go and fight with that fiery earth, and it by seeing that that fiery earth is throwing that fire onto that big guy, it is not becoming cool. So a little girl went to that fiery earth with such a confidence that she was loving that fiery earth, and she told that I know who you are not this, and I know you are the wonderful earth. And with that fiery earth became cool. So we need to we should not fight with our ego or whatever problems in the world. I think we should love, as Saha is saying, and all are saying, whatever may be our defects, we should accept,
Yeah.
and we should embrace that with love. And also we should see all others whom we are thinking like they are bad, they are very fierce. We can't approach them fiercely. That doesn't work. We should project our love to them so that they can feel that love which is them also.
Exactly. So how do we practice? That's the other important thing. So next time, we all have these situations. So next time something or someone triggers you, right? The popular term these days, the triggers. Somebody triggers you, well, take a pause and say, am I going to give them a piece of my mind or I'm going to give them a piece of my heart? You have the choice. A piece of mind will lead into a bigger argument, but the piece of heart can neutralize everything. So next time you get triggered, are you going to react or are you going to respond? It could be with anyone. It could be with somebody cutting you off on the road, or it could be your coworker, it could be your husband, wife, kids, whoever. You could give them a piece of your mind or you could give them a piece of your heart.
A question for you, brother.
Sure.
What if you do that and you get stepped over all the time and you end up becoming a doormat?
Well, that's the old way of thinking. That's once again, the mind want to play the victim mode. Oh, look, poor me, I'm loving so much and I'm the punching bag. Now, once you shift that mindset that people are stepping all over you, that's the story of the mind, because it wants to play the poor me story. No, that doesn't mean you go into danger and say somebody beat me up. No, you walk away from situations, but you got to understand your role in that. How much of this is my own contribution? Nobody can do to you anything unless you allow that. So people go in there with various reasons, say, oh my God, I'm doing it out of love. Really? Or are you doing it out of fear? Some people tolerate all this because they're fear of losing someone they think that they have to hold on to and please society. They say, oh my God, I'm praying to God and nothing is changing. I'm getting beaten up or abused. Well, if you had the guts to walk out of it, understand that your lesson is finished now, that you're not obligated to please your family or society or anyone out there, you find peace. It's always within us, a decision we take. So this idea of people stepping all over you, that's another thing that's coming from your mind. But instead you reframe it and say, well, somebody is deciding to unleash their pain and anger, in my area. Now, I'm going to help them clean it up because I'm going to love them. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spend time with them. You can love people from far away. You can say, oh my God, I got the worst husband or worst wife and she's so abusive. Well, who's making you stay with him or her? Your own ideas of a marriage or union is keeping you stuck there. Instead, you say, thank you for the lessons. We had a soul contract, and try to heal it with love. And if it's not meant to be that way, you could always move off and still love them because you understand that they're also God. When everyone is God, there's no problems. But we need to take action, not to be in harm's way. But at the same time, we had to snap out of the victim mode. The doormat, the punching bag and all that. That's another story. We choose to be there. We choose to be there. So it's about seeing it from a higher perspective.
Oh, thank
And
you.
there is also, sorry, there is also like when sometimes you get like a lesson. This
Oh, yeah.
soul can also be very high in love, but you want to learn. For example, it happened to me on my part. So I was very honest and I wanted truth, but I was so blind that from love, from my soul love, I get a lecture which opened my eyes, and it was very unpleasant.
Yes.
So the love also can have other side. Love is not only softness and be calm. Sometimes the biggest things comes from love when it's very unpleasant to you to wake you up. I don't know how to say it, Saha. Yeah, I just know what is it. So
No, no,
like, yeah, you can a little bit share it, that we don't stay, we need to be soft, but at the same time, I always call it like strong love. I don't know how to express it differently.
yeah,
Maybe it's some better word for it,
yeah,
but it
Tough love.
exists.
Tough love.
Yeah, and
yeah,
I felt it personally. I was such a blind, and I really need that. But it was at the same time very controlled and gentle. No, so the lecture
yes,
what I get, it was unpleasant, but the person who was giving me, my teacher, was very careful that he don't hurt me, like that he don't cross the line. So yeah, please, if you can share
yes.
a little bit.
It once again comes down to our mind's ways of separating love, just like we separate to God, and we just separated that. So it's the same thing. So love in its purest form is unconditional love, God's love. Then we take a humanized version of it and we start breaking it down into tough love, sweet love, desperate love me right now kind of love, give me love. So we got all kinds of labels for it. And we take this beautiful totality of love, which is all there is, and we start seeing, try to experience that in the forms that we prefer. And love in its true self is beautiful, glorious. It just flows. There's no even give and take. It's just flowing. So we say give love, take love, sweet love, tough love, needy love, desperate love, all kinds of terms we put in there, and we limit the experience, and that's coming from fear. So when we see that, as what Sister Vladka was trying to explain, is that every experience, everything is an experience. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It only happens in the mind space. But in the totality of that experience, there's no good, bad, right, or wrong in there. So once the mind comes, it'll put into a box. This is bad, this is good. Once again, it's from the conditioning that you experience, and also from your own experience as a soul, we have that judgment. But when we see the lessons there and say, wow, this person, there's a lesson for me to learn. And if you learn the lesson gracefully and you fully integrate that, then there's no heart even to label that love anymore. You say, wow, we had a soul contract. Thank God they showed up as agreed and they taught me this lesson. And I learned this and they learned that. It only becomes painful to us when we refuse to learn the lesson because we somehow feel that there's no lesson in it, but there's some kind of injustice that was done towards me. But actually, it's a great form of justice for your soul, because that's what the soul created in order for you to stay in the path. But as long as we hold an idea that I am the victim or something bad happened to me, I'm so good, and how could this happen to me? Well, then that idea itself is going to make us feel bad, sometimes anger, hatred. So you just say, wow, that was a great experience. Why did this person or this situation come to me? Because you were vibrating at that frequency. You attracted that. That's part of your soul contract to have that. And if you change that, if you change your vibration, well, you change the relationships you attracted to yourself. That doesn't mean you will not be challenged. You'll also get a test every single time. But you'll be able to go through that test with such ease and grace. You will not be throwing tantrums. You'll be like, wow, another lesson. What can I learn from here? So it's very important as children, we want our life to be so colorful. Every day we want to be different. I want to go here. I want to do that. And we had the curiosity of welcoming every experience. But what happens as we grow up? We want to be stuck in the same way. I have breakfast at a certain time. I only eat this. I only do that. And by this time I do this. Well, part of it is discipline, but part of it is just the mind does not want you to have a new experience. If it's not in my comfort zone, I don't want to feel it. So once you create that separation, you're going to suffer. So, but children, they'll welcome everything. So part of the ascension is connecting to that inner child in us. So that inner child with the curiosity and openness can take us there. And we all have that within us. On Friday, I was speaking to Brother Chulin that we'll be doing a inner child healing meditation for the US and Canada groups, because healing that inner child and making a connection with that inner child is so important for our growth right now. That innocence has to come back out. That curiosity has to come back out. That playfulness has to come back out. If not, we are set in our own ways. We can't go there. So yes, everything is an experience, but we give it meaning, whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong, from the lenses that we are wearing. You can
Is
see
the inner
right
child
now.
healing going to be this Friday?
This Friday, yes, this Friday. It'll be 10:30 New York time. 10:30 a.m. Yeah.
Saha, don't you have a prior engagement on Friday?
Sorry?
Don't you have a prior engagement on Friday?
No. Friday is pretty much full open, bro.
Okay,
I just
perfect.
chose the time of 6:30 because that's what we were doing last time. But if you want to move it up or move it back.
6:30 is perfect. 6:30 UAE, perfect.
Yeah.
Right, thanks.
Yeah. The idea is to allow maximum participation. So that's the goal. So if you need to move that, bro, we're completely all right with that. Absolutely no problem.
Thanks a lot, Zaha. Friday would be wonderful, I think. Because Saturday, as we said there, they've booked with performances. Friday should be good.
Perfect. Let's rock.
Saha, is that what Jesus told to be with God? I don't remember exact words. To be with God, we should be like a child. What? Can you say that?
I haven't read that. I'm not really familiar with the quote, but any form of God that you get close to, if you have a childlike innocence, you have already surrendered, because you're not going there with a certain idea that you want to accomplish something. So this is a very important thing that you brought up, because during this time we have to practice something. We have to seek God in whatever the form, but there are a few conditions. No agendas, no expectations, no rules, no boundaries, and no questions. So if you practice these 5, you can move faster right now. So you can go there at this point in time. The aspect of God we're experiencing is very, very different. It's happening so fast, and we need to keep up. So no agendas in your prayers, no expectations, no rules, no boundaries, and no questions. Just be.
That's one word. There's one word that is being in the, or rather a short sentence, I should say. That's being in the flow. And then when you're in the flow, there's no stress and there's lightness and things unfold and it's magical. So it's such a beautiful state to be in.
Yes. Yes. And that's when you see God from your heart. If you try to explain and find him and understand him from your mind, you're going to get into more trouble. It just doesn't work. You have to experience it.
I just wanted to say one thing about people being angry and people that are always, shouting, yelling, or whatever. So sometimes we need to remember that that's probably coming from, it's like a voice. It's like a child saying, I need attention, I need love. So that's a superficial way. Anger comes out of a person that's not being loved or craving for love. So I think instead of responding to that, I think we should stop in our tracks, see why are they behaving this way? Is there a reason? Is it an underlying need for craving for love? And I think that's one of the things that we need to remember, and before responding or before making judgment calls.
Yes. So we had to understand the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is coming from your mind space. Okay, you do this, I do this back. That's it. You know, we don't really give 2 seconds of thought to it. Response is when you see the whole situation unfolding and you zoom out and you understand this is not your problem. This is not about me. This is someone else struggling with their inner unhealed child. You know, it's a child that's wounded inside and could be from this lifetime, could be from a past lifetime. And as you said, understand why. And when you understand it's their own pain that's coming through in this behavior, you automatically have empathy and you go, wow, this person needs love. Now, that's the time you start responding, because when you understand there is a need for love and this is why they're acting, okay, I'm going to give love. Now, that love doesn't always have to be in words. It could be just be silence, just looking at them, or just being quiet. And so the response is something that we do after fully embracing and seeing the big picture and say, okay, it needs love. There is a lack of love here. And if that person cannot see that, you become that love and you radiate that. And, but be careful. Don't expect an instant, miracle. They will not stop yelling right away. And if you have that expectation, you're going to feel miserable again. Oh, it has no power. See, I tried, sending love, but it didn't work. So you got to send it out, let it be, and then move on. So that's another part of responding. Once you send love, give it time. We don't know how much, stuff they need to, how many layers that love has to go through, but it will get there. It will get there. And just because you don't see results of it, don't stop it. Keep on giving it. At some point, they'll be ready to fully embrace it. So response is not always something you have to verbalize. You could just be quiet. That's also a response. But reaction is what causes most of the time more confusion and leads to a greater conflict.
Wow, this is such a beautiful discussion. Thank you. I just need to thank you for, I'm starting my morning really well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Actively look for ways where you could share your love today. Everybody has that random act of violence once upon a time. Well, you can have that random act of kindness. And yes, share that love. Be that love. Carry that light wherever you go. People will feel it. And it'll brighten their days.
Yes, Saha, I am experiencing that too. Whether it is from the point of victim, or whether it is from the point of ego. When I am reacting, I am suffering, and when I am keeping those two aside and just seeing, it's. It's like just a thing which is passing and it is not affecting me.
Yep. Suffering is only when we start getting into our little I and believing that we are the mind and body. But once you become the big I and you're the eternal witness, there's no space for suffering. Suffering does not exist.
Okay.
Suffering is only in a state of separation. In true integration and oneness, there's no suffering.
And with that idea, even we can like observe others suffer also.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And when we are giving that love, they can also come out of that suffering.
Yeah, they can. If you look at most of the relationships, whatever it is, but the most difficult one of all human relationships for us is the one that involves romance. That's the hardest one for everyone, right?
Yeah,
So why
I
is
agree.
that? Yeah, everybody's going with a begging bowl, give me love. But if
I am
everybody's
the
going,
one.
yeah, If everybody's going with a bowl full of love and serving it, wow, there's no needy people around there. Once you go there with a begging bowl asking for love and you don't get it the form you want, you're going to feel more miserable. You're going to end up hating the entire world. But you go out
Yeah,
there with your bowl full of love, want to give love. How beautiful is that?
even what they say, we are misinterpreting because of this. Even though
Yeah.
they are saying with love,
Yeah.
because I am lacking love, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
But when I see through the light, what they are trying to say, what they are trying to do is for the highest good of me, then I am feeling light.
Yeah. I've seen clients where they say, well, I have my relationship question. I immediately kind of know what kind it is. It's number one question is about a he or a she in their life. And when you go to the root cause, the problem is that little girl or that little boy who's now a grown-up person is in a relationship, either married or dating or whatever. The love that they did not experience, they're seeking from their current partner. And that person is not able to give that if they're not having a full bowl. So you're going with a begging bowl and demanding from another beggar to give something from his bowl. He has nothing to give to you as well. Or she has nothing to give to you as well. It's two beggars asking for each other's food.
I'm getting angry of each other.
And getting angry. So that love that you don't receive as a child has a huge impact. So they grow up, they get into a relationship, they start looking for that. They are so thirsty now and they're desperate to drink and they're looking for it. Somebody else should give me love. So this is why a lot of the people are having this problem. But if they only open up to the source and go to their heart space, there's an endless flow of love to give. And in giving, you receive because you change your vibration from being a beggar to being bountiful.
Yeah, someone said to me, you can't get the juice from already crushed sugar cane. You should take the sugar cane which is full.
Yes,
So,
yes. And that sugar cane is only in your heart. That's the endless source. No matter how much you give, it keeps on stocking it up for you. So once you know that you have an endless supply, be generous with it. Start giving it to whoever who comes your way in any way you can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So it looks like we'll come to the end of today's allocated time of 2 hours. So if anyone else has any questions, we could try and answer that. If not, we'll say bye for today for now, and we'll catch up in our next talk.
Saha, just a quick question, Saha, if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Not at
When you
all.
say many of your clients, the reason they experience these issues when they're adults is because they did not receive the love they needed as children, correct?
Yes, that's
But then
one
again,
part of it. Some come
I
from
mean,
past.
I mean, parents generally are very, very loving of their children. So what kind of love is a parent supposed to give their children, and what mistakes are parents making?
Oh, that's a big topic. That's gonna be another 2-hour chat. But in short, parents don't. Most parents try to love them, but without having the emotional maturity to do so. They start trying to impose rules and regulations and systems that they have built around themselves and try to impose that on this innocent, curious child. And that involves verbal abuse, punishment, destroying of their confidence, and putting them on a reward system. If you do this, you get this. If not, you don't deserve it. If you do well in school, you will get this. If you fail, you will not gonna get to play. So this type of stuff is so damaging, and they have no idea they are molding a future Prozac patient.
I did not expect that. Wow.
So,
Okay.
and then they can't find answers to their problems, and that's why the big pharma thrives. So they have because the parents were unhealed, they were doing that behavior to their children, and they say, oh, because I'm doing it because I love my child, I want him to grow up the right way. Well, what's right way? What's the right thing? Where did you get that definition from? What's your definition of being right and being successful? Well, once you start seeing those, then you understand, wow, you're really damaging the subconscious mind of a beautiful soul. So it's a huge lesson. How we are loved as children has a big part in who we are in our adult life. And of course, some of these things come from a past life, but most of the memories are things that got triggered. Even if we have something from a past life, if we see that again as a child in this life, that just get pulled up onto the screen. And that becomes a habit for us to live in that vibration. And I've seen this many times with people. It's always going back to, and souls feel this. If the parents were arguing when the mother's carrying the baby, and the father wonders, oh my God, I'm not so close to my kid, only likes the mother. That's because during that time, he was not the nicest guy in town. And the child says, look, I don't want to come into this family. This guy's crazy. He's always yelling at my mom. So when he or she comes out, naturally, they don't want to be with this guy. Or sometimes the other way around. The mother will give birth, but the kid is not close to the mom at all, but loves the father. That's because the mom was toxic. She was always complaining about the lack in their life and how they cannot provide for this kid, and maybe they shouldn't have this kid, whatever she said. The little child, the little soul hears that. When you come out, it starts playing. So it's not even just as they grow up, but you have an energetic imprint even as a fetus. So that's how powerful our thoughts and vibrations are.
Thanks a lot, Zaha. I think, as you said, this is a huge topic, and perhaps we can look into it one day. How are we supposed to love children? But
Yes, I think
thank you
it's
very
good
much.
that
That
you
was quite
asked that.
insightful. Thank you,
Good
Zaha.
that you asked that question, because that's where we're going to go on Friday, is to heal that inner child.
Oh yeah, bad place
Yeah.
to go.
That's where we're going to go on Friday.
Looking forward to it, Zaha. Thanks a lot.
Bless you. So I guess we could end for the day today. If anyone's got no more questions, I think we've gone past the time. So we'll connect again soon. So bless you all.
Brother Julius, are you there?
Okay.
Julius?
Yeah.
All right.
So, and thanks, Brother Sara. It's amazing. You brought up so much love out of everyone. Nothing like going expounding and going down on love.
I'm glad. We got to be mirrors to each other.
All right. Thank you so much. Tomorrow at the same time, 4 o'clock. Same station. Sairam.
Sarah, bless you all.
Sairam all. Thank you all.
Salam, thank you.
Salam, thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you very much, Sairam. Thank you very much,
Saram,
Sairam.
thank you.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay. For those who like to chant Samasta Loka, can do so now.
Me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino bhavantu samastaloka. 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 Sukhino bhavantu samastalokaha 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 Sukhino bhavantu. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say it loud. And thank you. Sairam.
Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu 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 samasta loka sukhino bhavantu.
Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu 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 samasta समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु 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 समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु.
समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु 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 समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु
station. Thank you so much for participating. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Sri Sara.